Hey everyone, my name is Corey, and I wanted to talk about crafting and gathering in Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. I am on PantheonMMO.com again. I'm just in their media section. I'm just looking at the screenshots, mostly so that you guys have something cool to look at from the game while I talk about crafting. So I want to start off with the intention. Their intention currently seems to be that they want crafting to be part of the player experience, not just for the economy reasons, right? And I mean, I have in parentheses implicitly tied in because crafting and gathering is, and I think it's always going to it's always going to be implicitly tied in to the economy, because of player trading and just the way that those systems work. But there are things they can do gameplay wise to make it a more, like having like progression in your profession, and just different things, and maybe they'll come up with some new things that will help tie crafting and gathering into that player experience rather than just as a means to help facilitate their economy. So right now this game is obviously it's under heavy development. Anything can change at any time, but as I understand it right now, the starting gathering professions are mining, woodcutting, harvesting, skinning, and fishing. Which, cool, those are great. I think those are great. And the starting crafting professions: blacksmithing, outfitting, provisioning, alchemy, woodworking, and jewel crafting. And at the beginning, they have said that at the moment, which this is all under discussion and could change, but right now, you choose one crafting profession, so one of blacksmithing, or outfitting, or provisioning, alchemy, woodworking, jewel crafting. You only choose one of those for your character. But they did go into a little more depth, whereas you can, and they might have explained more than this, since, but from what I found, you can specialize into one of these. Like, let's take blacksmithing, because I think that is going to be the easiest example for me. So you choose blacksmithing as your one crafting profession, and you can specialize in it. Like, you can become a weapon master or weaponsmith, right? So you specialize in making weapons, or you could specialize in making armors, and maybe there's different tiers and types and however deep they want to go. But there is a deeper progression, that you can specialize and go down, and different things of that nature. And they want you to be able to do basic gathering in all of the gathering professions, but really delve into and kind of focus or specialize in only two of them. But you're able to do some basic gathering in all of them. So let's talk about gathering, which will lead into crafting, and it's all kind of tied together. But they said they want regional ingredients, possibly different zones / areas as well. So the reason I put this is because I think in the example they used, they're like, okay, on King's Reach, which I believe is actually the continent. So there's 3 continents. There's King's Reach and 2 others that I forget. Yeah, I did forget them. But other races are going to start there. So, and there's going to be different ingredients, gathering ingredients, that are specific to each of those continents. But I also think they are going to go deeper with that and have them in the different zones or areas. So, like in King's Reach, you have Fairthale and like Wild's End and different, like those different regions, I guess, or areas. Yeah, and that's tied to progression, as in like, so as you go about and progress, and you know go to these other continents and find different. Actually, I don't know if they're gonna allow you to go to the different continents. I mean, I assume they would. They would have like boats or something you can travel on. But anyway, you as you go to the different regions and you find these different materials that aren't in your area, you're able to combine those and make different stuff. So let's get into cooking and alchemy ingredients, because they talked about this a little bit. Cooking and alchemy ingredients will have different effects / stats on them, allowing for a mix match / create your own recipes based on the ingredients used. Also with Celestium Ores and such. So this point is talking about, I really like this because it allows for me to, you can kind of, once you go, like, instead of just gathering everything you see, which, I mean, a lot of people like to do that. I sometimes find myself doing that. It's just like, oh, I just want to make sure I get every single thing. But if you want to craft something specific that, you can go and you can find like, okay, this is like a heart flower, and it when I use it in a recipe, it increases my life by like 10. So I can just go out and like gather heart flowers specifically because I want to add a life to my my big mixing pot, and I just like the idea of being able to target farm and like create my own recipes and have, there's like a word that's like that I can't think of right now that I'm trying to like get out there, but I like just that mix match, create your own recipe type system where, okay, it's like these ingredients have these effects or stats on them, and you put them together, and then you'll get something that is a mix of those stats. So you can kind of target what buffs you want for your character. Also with Celestium Ores, so they were talking about Celestium as like this kind of same like system where what you put into your crafts, like on your sword, like if you use the Celestium Ore of Might, then you'll get like +2 strength on like added to your sword or something like that, which I think is real cool. They want consumables matter through all the levels, but not too OP. So they don't want them too overpowered to where basically people are saying, hey, you don't have any consumables, you have to go and farm up for like 4 hours, get all these consumables, just so you can, come into the dungeon or the raid or whatever. But they want them to matter. So there's a delicate balancing act that they're going to have to do for that. And I have min-maxers here because regardless of anything you put in the game that is going to provide a boost to your character and have an effect, min-maxers are probably most likely, going to go for that. They're like, okay, I can go and do this stuff, get this food buff. It gives me, plus 30 more health. Why wouldn't I want to go do that? Or why wouldn't I want, plus 5 to my strength or whatever, whatever the buff is, right? So they don't want things too OP to where people will force other people to kind of like to make it necessary, but also people are just going to do that themselves anyway, in my opinion, because that's just the way gamers are. Well, a lot of gamers are. I mean, there's some gamers who like, I don't even care about going and gathering. Like, I'm just going to, fight monsters all day, which sometimes I fall into that. I have a hard time with doing professions because I just like the more adventuring, fighting monsters aspect, exploring, stuff like that. But at the same time, I always want to like get into crafting and get into the professions and gathering, and like I want to experience that. But in most games, I guess I haven't found the right systems that intrigue me or get me hooked enough to where I'm like, okay, yeah, I like doing this. I want to, I want to go out and get these things because I like what I am, because it's enjoyable, first of all. Because it is pretty boring to just go out and just chink, chink, chink. I'm just mining, chink, 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 all day. So I don't know. I just something to shake it up, make it more exciting, maybe to help pull people like me who want to get it's funny because I'm like, I want to do that, but then when I go and do it, it's like, okay, well, I'm not really interested. I'd rather go out and fight monsters. So it's just one of those weird kind of situations, I guess. So some of the examples they were talking about or showing, unrefined ore. So you go out and you're doing your mining thing. You just mine, and they might add. They were discussing or talking about how they wanted to add gameplay into that and make it, I don't know, which might be good for someone like me. But you go and you mine, and you get, instead of like, you go and you mine an iron node, and instead of just getting like chunks of iron ore, you get this unrefined iron, but it also allows them to put like more rare materials on there that are like, okay, you got some unrefined iron and you got some like unrefined celestium or unrefined silver or something, whatever. I forget what exactly they showed in the video. So, but they have the opportunity to introduce, a chance at, finding rare resources into that. Also with smelting, so you take that unrefined ore back to, to town, you smelt it, and you start getting bars, and you'll get a chance, you'll get a chance to get some iron bars and some celestium bars, like that celestium bar of mine I was talking about. And then you put those bars into like a mold or a cast for like a blade cast, I guess, or a blade mold, where like you put the ore in the cast and you kind of have like this mold and they're talking about schematics. And I don't know if like the schematics, like if the mold / like the cast or the, what else did they have? I forget what else they had. But you put them in there, and I don't know if those were the same as schematics, but they start talking about schematics, which it's like, okay, then I have this schematic for this sword, which is, I don't want to say like a recipe, but it is kind of like a recipe. I mean, I guess it's like a schematic. It's like, okay, to make a sword, you need a blade and you need a hilt, right? So you do your blacksmithing to make a blade and a sword, and you can also make like a simple hilt. But this gets into the interdependency and the basic crafting. So they want interdependency between the crafting professions, which is good. It's really a good thing because that does promote, the social aspect of the game. Their intention for this game to, be deeply social, and having interdependencies between the crafting is a really good way of, is a really good example of their game design, going back into that overall, their overall vision for the game. So it's really, really good. And anyway, so the example is like, yeah, the sword blade you get from a blacksmith. So you go, like, let's say I'm a blacksmith, I make the sword blade, and then if I want to go and get, and as a blacksmith, I could craft like a basic hilt, but if I wanted like a better hilt, that has like more stats on him, so that when I put my sword together, it has extra stats on it. You know, I could go to like a woodworker. I don't know if it was woodworking, if that was the actual, or if it was outfitter. Anyway, you can go and like get like a special like wooden hilt that's like engraved and carved, and it has more stats. Or that's the example I'm going to use. And my question again is about the min-maxers, because they're like, okay, yeah, you can make a basic blade and it'll work, but if you go and you use, you know, you go to the this other crafting person, and you're like, hey, I want a hilt, or I would like to buy a hilt that has, you know, these certain stats on it, so that I can then go back and make this blade that is better. It gives me like +3 to my strength or whatever. My question is just min-maxers, like, if that option is available, then people who are of that mentality, which I consider myself part of that, I have that in the back of my mind. I have this question, like, why would I knowingly gimp myself, right? It's like, okay, if I know that I can make this blade and I can go over here to this person or go to the market. I don't know if they're going to have like anything like an auction house or anything like that. But if I can just go over to this marketplace or this person and, you know, buy this hilt off of the auction house to put into my sword that will make me better, I guess I would want to do that because it would make my character better, right? Because I know, knowing that that's a system, I would know, like, I don't know, like, does anyone else think like this? Like, I don't know, like, why would I knowingly gimp myself when I know that I could just go over there to this other person and, you know, get a better hilt and have more damage, basically? So, I don't know. I don't think I'm the only one who thinks like that, but who knows? Let's see. You decide what materials to put into the craft depending on what you want to make. So crafting transparency / control. Big win. Oh, yes. So yeah, this is what I was talking about with like the Celestium bars and stuff, and like I was talking about with the sword and the hilt. Like, you choose what you want to craft and what materials you want to use to craft in it to alter, you know, what stats you want. But I like having that crafting transparency. Like having, instead of it just being like, okay, I have this recipe, this is the sword I'm going to get. Instead, I have these materials where I can go and be like, okay, like I know I want more strength because I'm building my character to hit things really hard with a big, you know, two-handed mace, and I want a lot of strength so that I just crush people or monsters. And I just think having that kind of control and transparency of what I'm making and what materials I'm using and what stats and effects and different things that I'm putting on it is awesome. I think that's a big win. It's huge. In fact, I think this alone, and like what I was talking about with like, okay, I can go out and specifically target farm these different, you know, materials that I want for my potions and or for my potions or my food buff. I really just, I love that idea. Like, just give me ingredients that have stats, let me put them together and get the result that I want. Like, it's good. It's really good. I think for me, that's their biggest, having a system like that is their biggest, like, pro. You know, it's their biggest feature about this whole system that resonates with me, I guess. So, yeah, and then we talked about social aspect and the dependency. So this goes back into, you know, this feeding into that deeply social aspect. And to get that, having these dependencies where you are relying, not relying, but have the option to go and and socialize. Which I want to be. I don't know if I've said this, but I'm like a super introvert. Like socializing is really hard for me. But games like this, like Pantheon, which is like the social MMO, like it makes you like this in-depth, feeling like you're part of this world and stuff, is something that I want to be a part of. And the social aspect, like it really is hard for me. But having all these things, like I think like having these dependencies where it's like, okay, and with my mentality of like the min-maxing side of things, it's like, okay, maybe it will help me get out of my shell, like my shyness, get over my shyness, and talk to other people, and get better items, and maybe find other people like me that love MMOs. I don't know. It's something I'm working on. So, let's see. Crafting progression. So, this is something else that I love because it's another layer of having that. I keep bringing this up in my videos, but just having another layer of character progression, having more systems to progress in and that you can pursue if desired, just is awesome. I mean, crafting quests, like having quests you go on, different types of quests for like money or faction. Like I think one of the examples they used was like maybe you're in the city and you need to supply the guards of the city with some weapons, and you might, and by doing that you might gain some faction reputation with them. So I think that's really cool. It's another way. It's a different way to increase your reputation with the city or with the faction that you're trying to get reputation with. And it's just a different avenue of gameplay for people who are more on the crafting or gathering side of things, rather than like I'm more on the adventuring side. So I like going out and fighting monsters and doing stuff like that. But I want to get into crafting, so I don't know. Like it's something that I want to do. Like I talked about earlier. Let's see, longer quests for better tools and or skills. So yeah, they were talking about having, that progression, and you can specialize and you'll get, better tools like better mining pick, legendary mining pick, or legendary mixing bowl, I think is what Joppa said. Anyway, longer quests, you go on these adventures and, they'll reward you with skills and tools and different things you can use while you're crafting or while you're gathering. Something interesting that they also mentioned was they don't want players hoarding materials. So and my big question is, how do you stop them? Right? So it's like, they don't want players hoarding materials. But why? What? I don't know. Yeah, like why? Why not? Like, because they don't want to flood the market, right? Like, I think that's one of the worries. They don't want to, totally mess up the economy and the market. But I mean, players are probably going to find out ways, unless you don't have any sort of like banking system, or you don't have any sort of even like people are going to find ways, like, because they want people to be able to trade. So hopefully it's not one of those games where you can only make one character, because I like making alts, right? But I know people are just going to make mules, which a mule is basically just a character they make that is like a bank, right? So they make a character, you could give all your if there's no like mailbox system or something to trade down to your alt characters, then you could just trade with your friends. Your friends will give it to your bank character, and then your bank character, will sit in town and be your bank. So I don't know how they're going to stop player from hoarding materials, and I don't know why they don't want you to do that, other than the economy reasons, like flooding the market. But at the same time, like, people hoard materials for different reasons. Like, maybe I just want to spend my Saturday just mining iron all day, stocking up my bank, and, or putting it in my guild bank to help my, like, people in my guild who are trying to, make craft stuff or make stuff. I mean, I guess this goes back to player trading. Like, people can just talk to each other and trade this stuff rather than putting in a guild bank and having people be able to take it out when they want. I don't know. I guess I don't know why they want to do this, and I don't know how they're going to stop it either. Like, it's like, okay, we don't really have very much bank space, or there's no, big, huge, like, there's no, like, crafting, like, special crafting bag or container or something. So it's a good question. Like, they don't want this happening, but how are they going to stop players from, unless they, like, I don't know how they're going to limit it. All right. And then bulk production. So the developers recently put up a forum post about, our ideas for bulk production. I guess here's mine. My answer is, and they're talking about types and things to be bulk crafted and the effect on the economy. So bulk crafting, I see the issue of, excuse me, I've got like something like right here in my throat. But for bulk production, they don't want people just mass crafting stuff and putting it on the marketplace or the auction house or whatever they have, or just, I don't know, in trade chat or whatever. Just of like, just, they want to keep, a close eye on the economy and not have it, be ruined within the first, month. So, I mean, ways you can do bulk production is, they're talking about types of things, like things you need a lot of, like, I think like bulk smelting, basically. Like, okay, I got all this unrefined dust, or unrefined ore. I call it like iron dust and celestium dust and stuff in my head when I think about it. So, but I'm trying to call it by the right names. But the type of things to be bulk crafted, I think, are definitely like bulk smelting. Just like, okay, I just want to smelt all this, and I don't know how they're gonna do it. Like, are they gonna have it be on a timer based, like, okay, I'm smelting down all of my iron, unrefined iron, into the, the usable product of iron chunks or whatever it turns out to be. And I want it to, it's like, okay, it's going to take, 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, which, I mean, it allows people to like go up, get some food, walk around. So, but they don't, but I also feel like they don't want it to turn into kind of this slog and have it just be really boring. So I don't know what they're going to do. But I think stuff like bulk smelting would be good. I think bulk, I don't know, because it depends. Like, what if you have enough iron for like 300 swords? I don't want to be sitting there making swords all day either. So I don't know. Maybe it's something they can add into the progression system, where as you progress and into your specialization, you are better and can start, maybe making, 5 at a time or 10 at a time or something like that. I don't know. As for the effect on the economy, I don't know how they're planning on taking items out of the economy, unless they're having like a degradation system where your items will eventually break, and can't be repaired. Like if they don't have a repair cost as a money sink idea, because usually in a lot of these games, the vendors, you repair your gear as it takes. So basically that is you're out fighting, your gear gets damaged, you go back and you repair, and that's used as a gold sink or a money currency sink. But one way to counter market flooding, well, actually that might enhance market flooding, because if your items get destroyed, a lot of people might just stock up on like, okay, now I have 20 swords, and when one breaks, I'll just grab, the next one that I've made. So yeah, I don't know. But I think the little things, things that are going to become extremely tedious very quickly, such as smelting all your unrefined ore that you've gathered up and have, muled over to 4 of your alts, because they don't want you to have a hoarding of materials. So I don't know how they're... I don't know. I just don't know. Yeah. I just don't know. So those are questions for people who maybe they've addressed these and I haven't found it. Or maybe it's something that the developers are still, deciding. And I mean, we're probably... And, the thing is, I think we're all going to discover this together, the developers and the players, as more play tests happen. And they have the crafting system in and they're testing it. And they're seeing, what's going on. And so it's all going to get tuned eventually. But yeah, that is crafting and my thoughts on it and gathering. And I think this is another long one. Sorry, there's a lot to go through. There's just so much to crafting. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what their ideas on how they're going to move crafting forward and gathering to make it, to add it into an enjoyable player experience. And, just and how they're going to figure some of these other questions out. So anyways, I think that's all from me for tonight, but I wanted to get on and talk about crafting and gathering because I saw that post that they made on YouTube about the forum about the bulk crafting, bulk crafting question. So yeah, and anyway, I'm going to call it there. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a good one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.